Awesome. Cool beans. And I've forgotten my phone. Oddly enough, I was gonna have down here already. Yeah. How we doing? What's new? How's existence? Welcome to the party. Phil here, having a good time, I guess, hanging out or whatever. Got my king rune up there in the upper right hand corner. Yeah, there. Um, Printing me a new outdoor blacksmith space. So neat. So hot second. Okay, cool. We'll try to start again because that's always fun. Yeah, Phil here. Uh, Thanks for coming and hanging out on a Sunday afternoon. Like that. That way I can just kind of see where things are because just want to know. All right. So after yesterday's funness of sitting around and painting minis, I do like Sunday afternoons of just sitting and painting terrain. So, woo, let's do some terrain stuff. So why not? So today I've got a set of a tower, and a couple other little fun huts and hovels here. From it was the Wilds of Wintertide Kickstarter slash thing that exists on EC3D, or heroeshorde.com, I guess. Technically, where you can find this stuff. They're wicked sweet, and yeah, just trying to work my own back catalog at this point, of all the goofy things we have kind of going on. Okay, so if anything, might as well just get down to business and paint stuff because painting's a good time. So this tower, the nice part about it is, if I remember right, it's that one, and then it's this one. Get it. There we go. Finally, we have this one. Fairly sizable overall. I mean, I dig it as a big old tower. Yesterday, while I was painting minis and whatnot, I guess I primed it in black because why not? Um, but yeah, these other two little houses here. I've got one here, just kind of like a, I don't know, savage style hut, whatnot, for your traveling barbarian hordes and stuff like that. Same with this like kind of shaman-esque hut, which is quite a bit larger. Has a lot of places that look a lot more like gigantic maps and teeth and stuff. So we'll have a good old time with that. So let's just get to painting. That's why we want to paint, right? Oh, so I guess a lot of the time anymore, I haven't really been priming any of the terrain I've been painting. Mostly like if it if it's I'm printing in like a weird color, like like this here. Probably can't even see this, but like this here, like vibrant orange, right? So I switched up, and so if I have any other colors that I'm printing with that aren't black, um, I normally end up basing them in just a standard black versus actually priming them. It seems to stick pretty well, unlike miniatures and stuff, which have like release agents in that, which you need to wash them first. Prints, I guess depending which material, I print with a nice little easy to work with material. So called PLA. Uh, that seems to take paint pretty well, regardless if I prime it or not. Um, but a lot of the time I'll base it in black. Just give me a flat black start and kind of go from there. Because you can realistically see from this above shot how glossy this is to begin with. And once I start layering on actual paint, and it at least comes down from there. I had like at some point maybe I might do some things where I build some stuff out of foam and whatnot because I have here in the past, such as this building right here. Nice little 3-story wonder. I was building a small inn for friends of mine as we were they were gallivanting through, I think, I don't know, one of the D&D adventure modules, I guess. And I do like foam craft and that. Don't get me wrong there. I have found a lot of creative people out on the internet whom like are amazingly skilled and gifted in modeling great stuff. And whether it's the folks over at Printable Scenery or those at that submit their stuff to Heroes Horde, or there are people like Wylock and a couple of those other crafters that are floating around YouTube. Because I have access to 3D printing and 3D printers at large, I found these were the best use of my own little hobby shop. So whether it's printing stuff like minis here in resin and whatnot, or we switch over to this, which is what you kind of currently see kind of right here. At least I can see that in the upper corner there. So a couple different materials that I like to work with. All of them seem to take pretty well to most of the things. Resin, I do base them and prime them first because there have been some weird stories that I've heard of stuff just not sticking. So I think I'm going to start with the base of this just because it's kind of fun. I'm going to take some friends' advice and actually wear a dang glove because I'm real bad about painting my hand and that. But then again, these gloves make my hand sweat so bad at the end of the day. So I think because this is primarily, I think this is just this other than this door. Yeah, other than the door here, this is mostly stone. And since this is from a set that's all winter based, the Wintertide set, there's footing around the bottom of this and along each of the levels that kind of indicate snow. So I'll be going through those with white, just for funsies, just to give it the same aesthetic versus having dirt or something up mounted around it. It could be sand too. Maybe this is something that's in the middle of a sandscape. Works for both. Meh. So yeah, might as well just run through it, yo. Let's start with my darkest of grays. All the same. Okay. Painting a tower, painting a tower. Do 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 do. How we doing out there? Just kicking back, relaxing, all cool. Breathable grease monkey gloves work pretty well. I'll have to look that up because I've got these nitrels I use for my resin and whatnot, and yeah, no, they do not. They should not and would not breathe whatsoever. I'll have to look those up. Make the list, put it on a list of things to kind of check out because that sounds decent enough. I guess most of the time I just paint with an open hand anyway, so because I kind of don't care if my hand gets gross. This is all, uh, kind of junk acrylic paint, so yeah, do it, do it. Really appreciate that one. I'll take a link. Fancy spants gloves. Absolutely. And yeah, like on several of the models that I've painted over the last while, um, looking at the model, I may not 100% know um, like what colors to take. Like I had this problem yesterday with these guys. I wasn't 100% sure what like they should wear. Um, and because they're like weird Underdark folk, still not a clue. Still no clue. I've got yellow and blue on there right now, and his pink skin and whatnot, but meh. That'll be its own mystery before I get too far. Okay. Hit the inside. What I'll probably end up doing here is like going over this with a coat of this gray. It's like a pavement, I think. Um, I know that like when we look at like, oh, which tile breed is it? Oh, Dwarven Forge tiles. They like to do like the every once in a while, like a yellow brick or something along those lines in there. I think it looks great for like that tile set, especially if you have the right colors. I never do have the right colors, and it always looks weird to me when I do it. So like this, I might make some of these brighter, some of them darker, but I don't think I'm going to switch colors at all. Like no sandstone. Um, I as I sat and looked at that, like you think about the Underdark as like a place where like it's complete darkness and whatnot. And so like for for those that are making clothing down there, do they notice they're like picking like yellows and stuff or whatever? And so you have kind of that nightclub kind of theme. So they're like maybe they have bright and vibrant colors. I thought about paint. I've got 3 of them, so I thought about painting those 3 as like each is different sections of bright colors and just playing with it a bit. Have our very own crazy nightclub. The worst part is though, like they're part of like that. The society of that creature is like brain eaters though. So like, do they have like weird nightclubs where it's like, come in, you lose your mind? Is that what those? Sorry, I've got puns out the wazoo. I think. Yeah. Okay. So I got that based in gray. What's entertaining is now like the second level. It's all this the grain on here is all wood. It's kind of hard to see. At least parts of it are wood. Hmm. All right, we're gonna hit the one parts that are wood, and we're gonna see what the other ones aren't. Here, the underground shooms are a must. Very well could be, I guess. Not that I know. I mean, running the game, you have an idea, probably. Let's see. I think that's all wood there, and I only got stone pillars in betwixt them. So I'm trying not to hit too much with gray. Granted, the wood tones I have will probably eat up this gray that I'm putting on, so that's enough. Get our stone steps. I always think between the different like sets of tiles that I have, whether they're things that are for overland, underdark, um, those kinds of spaces uh, that I've picked up over the last while. Um, I'm always amazed at like the weird architecture pieces that people put in. They're kind of all over the place. You have either between like that old, you have that kind of rustic, kind of like Tudor cottage kind of feel to some things, and then other things you have like a hyper industrial and that wide sweep um, between it all and that, and yeah, never totally know what to expect next with that. But then again, I don't know. I keep trying to look at like different tile sets and get a better idea of what people's thoughts and ideas are on like the high fantasy genre anyway, because they're fun. It's all fun. Um, I try to keep tile like any of the tiles I look at and pick up, along with like similarly like the minis that I like to pick up and print. I try to keep them roughly in a similar vein. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a chibi mini and that with a gigantic head and huge eyes and whatnot. But it looks really funny standing next to a hyper realistic orc. You know, just it just looks it just looks really silly to me. Um, I don't think it detracts from the fun at all of sitting around a table and playing a huge old round of make 'em ups, um, whatever RPG thing you're running or playing in. But it does look funny. Okay, no, you're still got some wet on you. You're not quite dry yet. We'll get there. We'll get there soon. Yeah. I mean, recently, I've taken a break for like at least the last month or so from kind of running any RPG and that. After I guess kind of like running a mixture of games for the last I don't know couple years straight now. It's hilarious thinking that like take a month off of something. Um, I've been wanting to put together like been mostly playing modules and whatnot from Dungeons and Dragons and that. Doing some Out of the Abyss recently, so that's why I have all these like abyssal minis right now. Um, and doing things in the Underdark, as it were. Um, but happily enough, I think that one's pretty close to the end, and so part of my time the last month has been just writing a fun new campaign. Um, and generally built off the premise of a TikTok that I came across from one of the several DMs of TikTok. I wish I could remember who it was off the cuff, but he he mentioned that the idea of what if instead of like death or so. Do you think of taking a break from running enhances? I do. I do think that does. You can. There's nothing wrong with taking a break, and that like I told my two separate groups, I need to take a hiatus for a little while. Um, One being that like I don't know, meant like just I don't know. It's been a long year. I think for everyone, and whether people are new DMs running into things or um, like the forever DMs as some of us are, it feels um, like everyone needs to take a break from it sometime, right? There's one thing of choosing to take a break and knowing you're going to come back, and there's another thing of taking a break and being out of it forever too. Or taking a break and then no one wants to get back together. That's kind of sad. But like I've been, even while taking a break to kind of mentally recharge and kind of re-grease the mental wheels, and let that little bit of relaxation come into play, and just kind of help center my own thoughts on a couple things. Like this new campaign, back to that after my mental side rant, sidestep. Like the premise of the campaign at this point is like from this TikTok was mentioned, like instead of like permadeath for characters and that when they die, what if they instead were, this kind of comes back to weird game theory of if they die, they don't actually die. They're technically a type of immortal. Technically, it's a setback, right? Death is a setback in this kind of game. So instead, like a character dies at the hand of an ogre or something, is bludgeoned to death. Who knows? Uh, well, in rebut to that, like if they're just knocked down and then you know like they're still intact, as it were. They still have uh, a form for which their spirit could return. Maybe they were stabbed in the back in the middle of a back alley and bled out on the ground or something along those lines. Uh, you know, sad, but a reality for some adventurers. Because goodness gracious, there's all those other guilds out there that would more than happy ruin adventurers' days. Um, if someone dies in kind of a, I don't would say mundane, but like uh, they die in a way in which their wounds were severe enough to hurt them, but not like enough to like destroy them as a person. Um, the idea is it would take them like up to a week's time to probably return to their mortal coil, their mortal form. But if someone died a very tragic, like splattered across the rocks off a gully or a cliff or something, that might take them multiple weeks to return. If they're disintegrated and their entire body's destroyed, take up to a year for them to show back up again. So it's death isn't in like, or at least the idea behind this game that I've been putting together. Death is an inconvenience, and it can be a severe inconvenience or a mild one. But people who have like long-standing loving characters that they enjoy, they don't have to like lose them or have to reincarnate them as yet another two-handed sword swinger, or something to that effect. But like I think I took a pause to sit and think about game, or well, took a pause from running game just because like just before kind of a holiday break or whatever. Um, just to kind of recharge myself and that. And what's stupid is like 2 days into it, after about a week of not running a game, inspiration popped back to me and I started writing. So it was a very short turnaround. Would it be only heroes or everyday citizens that could return? Well, in this world, the premise is like we have a lot of the systems today that they talk about the world in a very historical sense of there's thousands and thousands of years of history that's currently been built. So major civilizations have come and gone. There's remnants of old magic times past. Now, my premise behind what I've been putting together is that the heroes in this instance are part of an initial, like, some odd group of immortals in the way early days of civilization. So you have some mix of your different bits of civilization of dwarves, elves, humans, other odd races that could exist in any given time, that live in like smaller cities, not quite your major scope of like Dungeons and Dragons, like Sword Coast. You have like 4 or 5 major cities just looking at the coast. Hundreds of thousands of people living in those imaginary people living in those spaces. But the idea would be that like these adventurers and heroes exist in the time before the gods had actually been gods. People are like either people or spiritualism is a thing because culture kind of exudes that, whatever they want to call that deity that they worship. Could even be a person who's gained that kind of popularity in the culture. And I've had that thought of like in some of the cities that we've been putting together and built, there are a few other people who are these kinds of immortals that now exist. And they'd maybe some of them who they're like one of the thoughts that I've got for a person in one of the cities is it's an older woman who like basically just looks after the down and trod overall, and like kind of dishes out healing and help to those who kind of need it, is kind of an unsung hero of the city, but she has like weird special heal powers or otherworldly kind of things, and so she's slowly building like a following in the underbelly of the city, or at least either that in like in the lower reams of the city, whilst everything's kind of going on. Very quiet, very serene and whatnot, but could fledge into a much, much bigger thing as like suddenly she gets worshipped as like this magical healer. Because we're kind of trying to work in a time before the major gods and pantheon kind of existed. And so the heroes in this game will meet some of that future pantheon in person. And I've asked my players earlier on in the year last year to kind of help with kind of figuring out like, hey, we don't have an actual pantheon for our new space. Let's kind of come up with some possible pantheon that could exist. So one of the pantheon that's absolutely there is we pulled in like Freya and that as one of those people from the pantheon. We've got we don't have like any like super major ones because I was like let's try to stay away from some of the ones that currently exist for what our real world pantheon is. Whether it's Norse, Greek, or whatever. I was like if we can start there, use them as like a backdrop even, and kind of grow that out. Would be just an interesting, kind of take on things overall, I guess. Try to get some of that out of there. This thing to dry a little bit more. It's a little bit wetter down here than usual. Oh, whilst some of that dries, to pull out some of my wood tones. Now I got a bunch of these hatches that exist in these upper levels, and there's also the wood graining and stuff I need to cover. So, switch gears here. This is beige. I'm gonna use this nutmeg. Oh, got a nutmeg. Are you open? Is the next question. You are. All right. Woo. Okay. Start there and work my way in colors. Yeah. It's been more of like we've been thinking about. Nutmeg. We've been thinking more about like instead of like almost thinking about more of like some of what they stand for more than anything. Um, we haven't really talked about domains. Haven't gotten to that part of the ticket yet. Um, but one thing that we've kind of sat and talked about one is um, like thinking about like what are they about? Like what's their shtick? One of the one of the one of the deities that was brought up is one of the orphans, who always looks like a child, is immortally like the age of 7 to 10, uh, and is technically a trickster god at the end of the day, and is technically to become the god of street urchins and things of that nature. Um, Overall, like we've kind of been talking about some of them in vague, like what's their personality like. Um, One of the things that was mentioned was a beholder is one of beauty, because beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because jokes, and people are dirty. Um, but um, we've been sort of running around thoughts. I mean, it's definitely not one of those of like I'm like, the way I like to run a game is not having 100% of everything fleshed out. Otherwise, I'd be doing this for like a year. And like we'll start filling out as the future goes on, I feel, and like start talking about and breaking down into different domains as we discover and create new gods. Because some of my thought is behind some of these deities is they weren't born with immortality, maybe. Possibly it was thrust upon them, and as part of that, what did they do with it? How did their lives change drastically? Ask some of those questions like regular NPCs, just to kind of like I guess change the world a bit, to have our own I don't know, build out our own world in a way that I don't know, feels a bit like interesting and natural, I guess, having it evolve as time goes on, um, as trying to fledge out a new fledgling world, starting with a few cities, a village, um, one of those. There's probably some crazy dude who's like, actually, I'm going to claim all this as my domain, uh, or something to that effect. I don't know yet. Um, as I've been trying to like look at like since I know I haven't met the characters yet, I have some brief summary and idea of what some of those characters are and like. Um, I've been looking at weaponry slash armor slash things of utility that can go with them also, and can also evolve with them. I did come across a nice thing on DM's Guild a little while back about evolving weapons with characters. I thought was kind of neat, and so uh, basically, to in order to like I don't know, there's a list of things that have come into existence as far as magic items that have like a certain person's name on them, or if they're a magic wielder of some time, the spell carries their name with it because they came up with it. This is high fantasy. I have no problem with gunpowder. Some people do. Gunpowder could totally be a thing there. That's perfectly fine. This is like part of the idea too is also this is a mildly low magic world, so there probably are those early artificers and that have probably created gunpowder. Um, you know, I think part of my own creative process is just trying to let some of those kind of come and go, um, or some of the like let those thoughts come as they come up, and then we'll just make it up as we go, whenever we get there. Uh, just yeah, I don't know. It's one of those of like I don't like fledging out an entire space because one it would take too long and two then I get too focused in something, um, versus giving some vagueness to a couple things here or there. Um, I don't know, that could be helpful. Plus, I guess as part of it, part of my thought is that as we get into actual like type of gameplay, um, player like I've always really enjoyed the idea of like players helping to shape the world overall, and that with trying a couple different things of like um, porting over some of the fate core systems, use of like fate points and that, for trying to make it a thing for D&D and that, and using inspiration in a couple ways. Um, Having players create like a high concept and a major flaw that is not only one descriptive of them, but also a way that they themselves have something that they have to overcome later, um, or have to fight back against. It's kind of like having that rogue that's really into shiny things, um, and cannot pass up a minute of shiny things. That's a flaw, but like odds are good. The PC is probably not gonna necessarily, unless they're really active about it. Um, they may not necessarily go, "Oh, that's a shiny object. I'm gonna take that." Versus in Fate, when someone comes across a situation where uh, they have that they have a spot where they could have that impulse. They uh, you as a game master can happily compel that piece for them, and it's at the stake of, hey, you'll get a point of fate if, like, hey, I'm going to give you a point of fate and I'm compelling you to go steal the thing, because the flaw can be troublesome to the party, and that's the idea, uh, of flaws in that. And like looking at the way that like I mean the Dungeons and Dragons Fifth Edition set looked at like bonds and flaws and things of that nature. They did an interesting thing of trying to push that kind of initiative on the player, um, but I don't know totally how that benefits or gets away from, for the GM to kind of work with the the and like granted, it's all about how the GM runs the game. At the end of the day, everyone's got their own point of view on it. It's perfectly fine. Um, you can put characters in a situation where, oh man, the only option is to really get in and dig at that itch under their nose of like, hey, so and so said something about blah blah blah, and that's part of your bond. So what are you gonna do about it? And hopefully those come up in game. They may not. That's one way or one. That's either here nor there. That's all about planning, um, and whether or not how involved you want your character, or how embedded you want your characters to be in the world that you've got going on. Um, do do do. Trying to cover master areas here. To redo some of this gray, but that's fine. It'll be fine. Worst part right now is just getting it in there. Trying to get decent enough coverage on this. Because I know I'll have to re-hit it with gray, so that's okay. Not a big deal. All right, to the outside with nutmeg. I wonder if things stuck over there. Might go check on that print here in just a second, because I'm really curious about it. Might be stuck. I can see it, I can hear it. Set that down. Wash, wash, wash. Go check on a print. What happened there? Okay, I think just something came loose. Yeah, we'll see. Happens on occasion. Oh, all right. Back to the paint. But yeah, no, recent writing my own world's been kind of fun. You know, have you ever used anything other than paint to give your paints interesting textures, or is it easier to let the printer make the textures? I mean, you could dig into your prints, I guess, or use like if you're doing like I mean metals and stuff. Um, like I mean, you've got like your kind of like different oil paints to give it that kind of sheen or lacquer. To give it something like that, it's a little bit other than paint. Most of the things for like at my table here, paint's normally good enough for my taste. But like you can use you can use some like resins and stuff if you want to do like pooling water or add some kind of side effects like that, or any type of like the terrain flocking and that, because of the way like these prints have layers in that, which gives that I don't know, it's kind of like one of those where it will wick paint really well. And put it wherever you didn't probably want it, especially if it's like really watered down. Um, it's that odd capillary effect that each of these layers kind of has with it. And it like on these, there's a lot of like I've got a lot of wood texture on the sides here, and I could probably take a Dremel to it, kind of etch it out a little bit, make some of them deeper, that kind of thing. You could use like if you're I mean let's see, like any of the if you look up how those that make props in that props slash cosplay and that, looking up some of their techniques for how they um, do things like different kinds of weathering and that, especially for like metal parts. Like if you have like tanks or um, mechs or something along those lines, you want to give them a real metallic kind of look, but you can use like all those little like hobby shop stuff. Any kind of like white flocking and that. Depending on what size you get, I mean, it all kind of works. I know plenty of people who I've seen uh, take like that the green flocking that people a lot of the time use when they're doing foam craft and creating like hills and stuff. As long as you goop along enough like Mod Podge or glue, um, you can almost stick anything to anything at the end of the day. Um, I know I've seen like the snow flocking, which would be kind of neat here, give it kind of a texture, which would be neat. Just like when people base minis and use any number of those little bits and pieces. I mean, um, there's a lot of options. Um, just like any other terrain style thing with 3D printing, you can kind of do whatever. I mean, to each, it's kind of a to each their own sort of deal. I When I started doing and playing with some of that foam craft and making some foam terrain other than 3D printing it, um, like I've got I've got this colossal just gigantic warehouse that I built, um, and it lived in one game. Not good foresight for me. And so like ever since I've been doing some 3D printing, and now I have like this. This is a huge table to kind of work with some of this. Like I've been doing more 3D printing and kind of utility kind of printing, so I can just drop something on the table and it gives you the idea of where you are at the end of the day, I guess. Um, it's kind of all over the place, really. But yeah, no. I don't know. I've made a lot of different stuff. Like I've got an ink wash that I'll probably eventually use on something like this here at some point. Um, to get into some of these deeper textures, and I I don't know, the way I always thought about like 3D prints and getting them table ready, like as you can see kind of looking down from the top, you can now start to see some of that wood grain separation happening below and on the inside of this, which is fairly neat overall. But like there's the same thing as similar on the outside. There's some more of that wood grain kind of back and forth in the between the boards. I think that's meant to be like some kind of grouting and that, which might go back in and clean up here. But yeah, it might be more of one of those of I'm looking at it, maybe, maybe not. Yeah, do the wood interior of this guy first. Nutmeg, where'd you go, Nutmeg? There we go. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, yeah, Kamari and Drunken Scroll Games. Thanks for following along with this nonsense as I like to sit and ramble about some of this. Like I don't know. As I look at painting terrain, I look at how people paint like their cosplay stuff because they're huge wealth of knowledge in the cosplay community. Those folks, ultra talent behind all that. Like I do like putting lights and LEDs in stuff just to kind of sell it at the table. Granted, in-person gaming is way more effective. You can kind of do it over the net, as we kind of have done the last couple of years with some of our friends moving further away, and then this year happening. Um, but like it's much easier when you're in person to kind of sell some of that. So especially you have like little flickering lights and LEDs and stuff. Um, One of my things that I put together here uh, for this, like I can kind of see it flickering right now. Like I thought this was great seeing some of this. Uh, oh hey, thanks for thinking it's informative. Versus me just mostly rambling. Um, like this little guy right here, I put together for some end campaigny thingy. But basically, like I feel like I've gotten a little bit more traction out of them because I can just set them down on the table and you're in a silence laboratory. Because I'm really utilitarian like that of like, hey, here's all this terrain. It's kind of fun to use. Um, and depending on what the setting is, we can kind of do some different stuff with it. And this is made out of a hair curler, an LED, and a ping pong ball. So it's an interesting thing, to say the least. So there's a lot of different tools, utility things like that you can use. I don't know, they're kind of fun. Um, it's all good. If you have any suggestions for other materials to use, like with 3D stuff, feel free to say something about that because I'm always interested in new things for sure, or trying something else for sure. Are those wood bussets or? Yeah, they probably are. It's fine. Make this ledge, this wooden ledge. Yeah, for the most part, like there's a couple channels that I follow on YouTube or things like there's Black Magic Craft. There's Wylock has taken some time off for recent, but his back catalog is entertaining if you want to see how to kind of witchcraft things if you're not already haven't already seen some of that. Um, uh, the trying to think who else do I have that I kind of watch and follow. There's a couple mini painters that I follow. I can't think off the top of my head, but um, I always look for themes and how people like to do different parts of their craft and that. And like I could totally seal these with Mod Podge at the end of the day, just like you would something like this big thing here, which is all foam and whatnot. Minus a little 3-tiered usable interior piece of magic here. Gotta love that. All dollar store stuff. Like a Half-Life, sealing it with Mod Podge, if you want to protect your colors and that. Super duper handy. You can get stuff that's in gloss and matte. There's spray variety. There's the normal wipe-on Mod Podge kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever, for like my 3D print stuff, I don't know if, I can't remember if I've ever really sealed it before. I mean, it wouldn't hurt anything by any means. And plus, I mean, if I sealed it before I started painting it and going through all this, I mean, I could get rid of some of these layer lines. I normally print at like 0.2 millimeters or so twice the thickness of a piece of paper. So there's pretty decent divots on it. Granted, from this camera, you can't see them. There is also glitter Podge. If I was making like doing there's an Elven set that Printable Scenery has that are like I don't know, like some Elven grotto thing that they have that I think that glitter Podge would be perfect for sure. Okay, get this hatch painted, yeah. Now, one of the goofy things about doing this a lot is I overpaint so much all the time, and then I just go back in and fix it later, because this is a fairly forgiving activity at the end of the day, and like yeah, it's one of those things of like it's calming and it's a way of just you don't have to worry so much. Just do what your heart desires, man. Just go for it. Just do it. Yeah. Because some of this, like, I'll go back in, I'll have to just wipe it clean and whatnot and get it fixed. But, um, yeah, little things. If I wasn't so like heavy-handed with a brush most of the time, would be a little bit better. Call that golden for now.
To the door! Reach the stronghold.
I probably could downgrade my brushes. It's a smaller door. I don't need that big of a brush now. And when you're worried, like if you're thinking and worried about like, I don't know, painting things overall, like especially like whether it's foam terrain, this kind of terrain, this stuff's just more durable at the end of the day is all. Just because it's a hard plastic and instead of your normal foam stuff, which granted, sealing that stuff. Thanks, Tyler. I knew you'd appreciate me wearing a glove today. Um, um, my brain went off. Um, I don't normally put like a dozen and a half layers of paint on these ever. Most of the time, it comes down to like I do maybe two or three colors. I'll kind of do a couple separate different techniques to kind of bring out the high spots and accentuate the low spots, that kind of thing. Um, we'll give it a real hefty kind of wash in the near future here. That's wood too. That's also wood up top. Yeah, it's got a wood grain to it. Um, we'll try to tackle all the interesting little bits and pieces. Um, there are just it amazes me sometimes when I'm looking at like either minis or terrain pieces that I've either printed, bought, or otherwise. The minute I put primer on them, the minute I get like a coat of paint on them, is the second I really start seeing like all the fun little bits and pieces and the love that someone put into that model. Um, like yesterday, while I was streaming and on, I I printed this graveyard golem, and it wasn't until like real inspection of it after I've got it now put on a base. I mean, it's a plain base because I'm not one to dig too hard into like getting really pretty with my bases for minis. I mean, one day I might. I don't know. It's always one of those of like I painted the whole thing. Do I really need to finish the bottom? I don't. Uh, some people have a real like strong stance, and I've seen some really cool mini bases. I'm not good at that. Um, I can only do what the model dictates of me to do. Um, sometimes it's just choosing which color to paint it. At the end of the day, nice door, nice. Okay, we've got that. That's essentially dry. Let me go back in now. We're gonna clean up a little bit of these not so great spots now. Now that I've gone through and painted all the browns that I can paint. Or, cause as much mess as I can. So we want this one. Want some more pavement? Okay. One of the things I'm not terribly worried about either is like this central part, this weird overtop part here. I may be worried about the stair step, but the rest of this, and it could be whatever. I might go over it with black again later to make it cleaner. I won't. Um, but it's a step that you could take if you want to take a model from being okayly painted to extremely well painted. It's just about the amount of time you want to put into it because everything is patience, right? Whether it's making a model kit, uh, like whether it's like a car, a plane, or whatever. I was watching a little bit of a a modeler stream here earlier today, and it's yeah, one of the key things is patience overall. Because yeah, and I could spend hours just painting. I'll probably end up painting this one model today, because we'll get to like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'll be just mentally exhausted. So it's just about how much care you want to put into a particular model. Um, but hey, we got a lot of painting to do, and weekends are nice. Um, so yeah, if you want to come hang out, and I'll try to spread whatever weird knowledge I have about painting this kind of jazz. Um, I haven't had any problem with paint ever sticking to PLA models at all, and the way I've always kind of thought about it is, it's only going to be as perfect as I need it to be. Like I'm not winning any awards here. Um, it's whatever is good to you is good overall. Like um, I've seen a lot of things that people were like, ah, oh, gosh, this was not my best work. This is one of the first ones I did. Um, and I'm like, dude, it looks great. It's fantastic. Um, yeah, tell you what, painting this jazz on the weekends, oh, buddy, yeah, therapy. Not quite therapy, definitely therapeutic. Uh, I feel like I should have like a microphone right about here, just to hear my brush strokes. We get that real Bob Ross effect going on, right? Because I can just hear it, but I know you probably can't hear me go shh, shh, shh every now and again because I paint on it. Oh, okay. Make the noises. The shh, shh, shh. I feel like I should just like fake it with a weird like and what is sound amplifier for or a sound generator that just makes the Bob Ross like that kind of like the big fan brush um, against a canvas sort of sound because that's the sound that everyone really enjoys, whether they realize it or not. It's not just his. Now we're gonna do this. It's gonna be great. Um, there's no uh, there's no mistakes. There's only happy little accidents. Um, I there's a terrain maker on TikTok that I follow. I'll have to look them up here in a little bit. Um, and he was or um, they were asking they were showing like they were showing off some of their early things and whatnot. Showed off this nice little like hut of a house, like this nice little like I want to say like cabin of sorts. Very nicely put together. Had some of those fun like moss notes on the top of it. Had some spider webbing across part of it. Looked nice and old and decrepit a little bit, Yeah, just had some of those nice little fun textures that make it really sell when you're sitting on a table next to it. And they were like, well, I mean, there's plenty of mistakes made on this model, and I had to immediately reply, "No, they look great. They look fantastic." I mean, it's I've definitely got things that I'm like, look, still like this little house thing, or inn is what I made. It's an inn probably. Um, who knows? It's dark. It's dark as all get out because I I brushed it a bit darker than I intended to, and it stuck. Um, it's not bad when I have a city that people are walking through. It sells the idea that, hey, you're walking past buildings and stuff, and there's a street. Um, so that's most of what it is. It's just to kind of give yourself a little bit more atmosphere, a little more stuff to deal with. Um, uh, like every now and again, like recently, with a couple of the different things that I've painted, I've been putting them on the table here, laying them out into what would be an ideal setting for the like that model and a couple others to kind of live in, whether they're trees, they're buildings, stuff like that. Um, I'll set them out and then like kind of set the mood a little bit with some. I've got some overhead light things that turn blue and whatnot. That I don't know, just kind of set the mood of the room and the table, and just to kind of see it in its, I don't know, it what its setup would be, which just like as long as it looks like it sells to you, it sells to you. That's the truth. And then again, like some of the models I have and have come across, it's like, what story does it tell? Like I've got I posted some pictures on Instagram of this wonderful broken down wizard's tower, and uh, what I thought was the most amazing thing about the tower itself, what isn't necessarily the model. It's once I got color on the model, how much I loved the model. Like it changed from being like, oh, okay, cool, this sells off as a broken down wizard tower to there's a board there. There's a what there? Um, just because there were like some things that I didn't see until I actually threw a coat of paint on it. Um, Plenty of weird broken down stuff, things hanging off the edges, that kind of thing. Um, Roll you this way to get this edge. You see now that I've gone in there and kind of squared that all up, we've got a bit more definition going on. I like to kind of throw some hard edges in on like things that are like deep, strong transitions, just to kind of sell what it is. What I'll probably do is in between each of these, because I think that's grout overall, just to fill the spaces. I'm gonna go back in there. I got an ivory and a khaki here. I might start with khaki and work my way up as far as lightness goes, but we'll see. To kind of go back in there and try to do those in between details before I get too stinking far. I just knew that the wood was going to be probably my worst thing of trying to like base cover everything. That's why I was just sticking with that first. Yeah, one of the I feel like I'm trying to paint as quickly as I can. I don't know how that's turning out. Um, just because I know that you can spend like I know that this entire stream day is going to be this tower. I'm not going to get a chance to get to like this wicked hut here. That'll probably be next Sunday. Or this toothy dude here. Um, all that both of them, because of their dark shiny exteriors, hide so much weird detail. And it'll be super fun to finally get those painted. That's right. Gotta do the insides of these now because they're there, and I see you. Now, it may be one of those things if I never use the interior of this. I live with that piece of information. But if I ever need the inside of it, I got it. Might as well do it while we're here, right? Now, I did order an airbrush here of recent. We'll see how that goes. I don't know the first thing about airbrushing. I don't know. I know there's a thing, you pour goo in it, and it sprays out the other side. That's all I got. That's literally my entire knowledge of that kind of thing, of an airbrush. I know I was looking at it because I didn't feel like rattle can primers were going to work for the big old stinking Tiamat deal I have over here. Just because of, I don't know. I've seen some of the pictures of people of like some of our Warhammer friends using like rattle can stuff. I don't know if it's like there's a weird texture that's left behind that I don't like about it. Oh, that's it. I know all about it then. Put in liquid in one and put liquid in dropper and it sprays out other side. That's it. One can hope that's all I need to know. I mean, goodness gracious, if that's all I needed to know, then whew. We'll see if I hurt myself. Probably won't, but at least know how to use, rudimentary tools at the end of the day. We'll probably figure it out. I say probably with a big old question mark at the end. As close as I'm getting to that. All right, that's a dark zone. It's fine. All right, let's double check these real quick if I feel good about all the coverage as of now. Worst case scenario is I go back in here with another coat. Meh, not a big deal. Oh, just don't breathe it, huh? Yeah, that was kind of the thought. Set up something that will suck that air out of the space and whatnot. Or I might wait to use it until after I have one of those nice little catches, or I build a nice little catch to kind of suck the air through. Okay, I think that one is good to go. Okie dokie. I might just do the outsides. Yeah. For now. Let's fix up you. We're going to clean up around this hatchway. There we go. Clean up around the outside of here. That's what I should do. I need to look at all of them look at the ones that actually have snow on them and recover them. Remember the Will It Blend channel on YouTube? Like, remember that one? Is it Blend Tech? Was that the? Alrighty. Enjoy the lurking. There was I think it was Blend Tech, and it was like, all right, we're gonna put like was it like a Game Boy Color in here, and we're gonna see if it can blend to the Game Boy Color. I think there was an iPhone was one I came across at one point. Will it blend? And then immediately after opening it, like as opening it, the statement of "Don't breathe this." Always made me laugh really hard. Well, hey, Drunk Squirrel, thanks for at least stopping by and hanging out, and enjoy the lurk. Okay, moving on up to the east side. Okay. A little bit wet on this, but nothing too exciting. Okay, let this kind of be and dry. Check this out. This one. That's right. This one's got some wet zones. All right, so let's go around the bottom of this. Do 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 do. Oh gosh, I need to get like a comfier chair at the end of the day. Oh man, just sitting on the edge of this thing. It's not a comfy chair. Need some more Monty Python references in our daily lives, I think.
Not the comfy chair.
Okay. How are we doing on that? I think that looks okay. Okay. Now comes, I think, the dry brush portion of the day. The part that makes everything beautiful. Or, well, brings out all the definition that you didn't realize was there. That's what I should say. All right. So I got my absurd dry brush here. Oh, granite or country gray? I think granite. I'll grab a white that I've got sitting over here. There we go. All right. So if you've never done dry brushing before, it's honestly like it's a mixture of good and evil. For sure, too much paint on your brush will go far. That's for sure. Too little, yeah. I mean, some would argue you can't have too little. In my case, with this brush, you can totally have too little. And now we're starting to get, see that sudden change of now we actually have a stone texture in there versus back over here where we have none. This is how fast this goes after you go past your initial set of colors. And this is why I normally do like 2 or 3 colors at most, just because like any of those like other, if I color the stones a different shade or I go through and randomly color stones, it kind of loses itself because the dry brush will come back in and it will tuck and hide those away more than anything. So yeah, wow, that love when these things just start to sell themselves. That's it for sure. I don't want to dig too hard on that, but oh. Yeah. It's one of those blink and you miss it, and all of a sudden it looks like something, right? Like it's kind of a. I feel like dry brushing sometimes is like pure magic. At the end of the day, just because now like suddenly I have all these rock, I have all this texture, and it took 2 seconds, 2 seconds to do. Put it on there. Kind of amazing to me. We do the floor in a similar manner. Yeah. And the unevenness gives us a bit to work with. Yeah. Same thing with these internal walls. Trying to get too much on it, but yeah. There we go. Yeah, I mean that's a quick turnaround for nothing. For doing very little, you've got a lot more definition in this thing now, which is fairly impressive overall. That's how that jazz works. The magic of dry brush. Dark magic. That's all it is. Just dark magic, which is fine. Spin it. Spin it to win it. Yeah. And yeah, the overall trick for the dry brushing, a little bit more now, is yeah, a little goes a long way. You can always overdo it. You can't under, right? The whole thing of you can go just a smidge too far, or but you can't. It's harder to. It's easier to get to than it is to come back from, or whatever it is. You know, measure twice, cut once sort of mentality towards painting. Things like this. But yeah, with just a few quick hand strokes like that, we have fairly even looking outside of a tower. Huzzah! What that thing's doing over there? Looks like it's doing okay. Yeah, it's doing fine. Okay, let's do the inside of this. Well, inside walls anyway. Too much. We've gone too far. We've done too much. Okay, brush down. Yeah, we're way too much. Yeah. Some good old stone walls in there. We got some decent bit of color on them now. At least. There we go. Yeah. You can at least tell what it is, which is enough. Alright. To the top. Let's see how much I have left on here. You know. I don't know, it just reads so well on camera now. Like, so much better than it did a short while ago. Nice top. Very good top, yes. Very, very good. It has worked out well. Okay, now we get to this. Oh, there we go. Now we're seeing that outside shell come to life. Yeah, there we go. Oodalolly. All right, let's do the stone steps here and the outside work. Yeah, some of those get a little bit darker or lighter than they should be. That's fine. Rub that out a little bit. All right. And the one thing like that I've found with 3D prints is if you have wobble in your machine or you have kind of like inconsistent lineage or it's not, perfect in some way, shape, or form to whatever, you start to pick some of that up. But I mean, on the table, I don't think it matters all that much. As long as you don't have like some major like absurd layer shifting or something that looks like it sheared the model in half and you had to glue it back together. Um, that's something that like we always need to watch out for. But it's little things, just little things. There we go. So there's that. Start of that. Next, should do the lighter brushing of that wood. So I got this khaki that I want to try to do as the lighter brush for the wood for the first step up. I also have an ivory. Let's see how that goes. This isn't light enough. I'll move to the ivory. Ivory will be good. If anything. 2 or 3 step dry brush process. I'm not too concerned about what I previously had on the brush for like the stone and whatnot because it's also a lighter tone, so this will probably help out in the short. But let's get some more of that like cactone. Being brutal with this brush right now. There we go. There we go. It's a door. We have made ourselves a door. There we go. We're starting to get some definition there. Starting to get there? Yeah, we're starting to get more definition in it. There we go. Next set. Slowly getting there. Just that little bit, yeah. A small amount just suddenly gives you so much more texture than you had before. And it's amazing how quickly this process just brings some of that stuff out. Because yeah, most of the time I'm just trying to catch all those high notes, and we've gotten pretty good thus far. I'm still gonna need to go through and do that crowding in the middle, which is its own thing. That might also like totally get fixed up with a wash. Who knows? We'll play with it. Not 100% on that, so not sold on whether or not I should do one thing or versus another with it yet. Yeah, there we go. That more wood aesthetic down the bottom. That changed the base of that so much. It just suddenly came to life in there. That's an impressive thing, always. How's my building doing over there? It looks like it's doing fine. Yeah, I mean, like, some of this, like, it's just amazing the transformation we have, and I've only used 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. 4 colors thus far on this whole thing. Like, it looks like, you know, this jazz has been doing a lot this whole time. So, you know, you can bring out texture so fast with just a few strokes, especially when you're dry brushing like this. So I just found this is the fastest technique for painting this kind of stuff. Okay. I think we'll try a little bit of this. We'll try a little ivory, and if I don't like it, we'll just stop. I'll do it on the door. The door will be the most telling. And it's going to be the friggin' lightest thing I ever do. Yeah, no, that's it. We're done. None of that. None of that. We're done with that. All right. I was just curious. All right. So dry bus jazz out of the way. Let's do work on that snow. That snow is kind of my next big ticket item on it. You sit over here and think about what you've done, brush. Let it just kind of dry itself out. All right. White, 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 white. think a little will go a long way on this, one way or another. Yeah, I know that one of the so the main ideas is to paint your backgrounds first, and then slowly build up from there, because it's easier to kind of work into the model than work out of the model. Overall, especially like this is why I've waited to touch snow until now. It's because I'm like I can cover everything else, and then when I come back to do this snow layer, I can be a bit more careful. Do this motion, spin it over so that way I can see from top down. This is one of those times when you can totally just sit back, use some flocking, put some glue on here, and get some of that snow flock, and just go to town. Like, especially for something like this. This is since this is from snow terrain in its own. Like this would be a prime thing to throw that kind of stuff onto. Plus, you've got some built up areas on the model itself that are for snow, which is great. But you also have all these other places that you could just have little bits of snow hook onto and stay on. So with models like this, you got options. Get some good old touch of snow on here, which looks pretty decent. I actually had to order new mini brushes because I haven't bought brushes just for miniatures in a long time. Here earlier today, it's like, well, if I'm going to be painting more of them, I should probably have little tips that I can get into all those weird nooks and crannies with again. So I think I destroyed all my other ones, or lost them, or they got thrown away, or something in the shuffle of one thing or another. It's been a little while since I've painted a mini. Yeah, there we go. Nearly all the way around. Almost there. Oh man. Yeah. Now it's got snow around it. Just that one little addition gives you a lot of extra. Okay, worked on that one, which is nice. Is there any up here? Oh, there's kind of. There's a couple spots, I think. Yeah. Okay, here's our next one. Next little bit of snow. Yeah, there's that. Sorry, I get kind of absorbed mentally in some of this as I sit and paint. But yeah, um, anybody have any like? That's probably looks pretty good. Um, anyone making terrain at home right now? Just having a good old time doing it, or painting minis, or whichever. Need some more white. Not much more, just a little more. We just chillaxing at home, hanging out, being all cool. Because it's a nice, calm Sunday. Ugh. It takes like I need to take needles to these and try to reopen them. I think I got them pretty well clogged. All of my different like Valet, either Reaper paints or whichever. I think they're all kind of gunked up at this point. There we go. Yeah. Maybe one of these days I'll dig into doing foam craft again. It's been a little while. I don't know what I would foam craft because that was one of my biggest troubles with foam craft too. I don't know. It's a random thought that had came to my head. I could do it um, at some point, but I have to have an idea first of something I want to foam craft that I can't find something I could use that would benefit me. I think. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. I see what the model maker meant. now that I've painted over it once, all right, we'll go back and I'll fix that. There's these feet at the bottom of this. I could not tell whether or not they were snow covered or rock because it looked so close to each other. Now I know. Now I can go in and fix it. Or well, paint it what it most likely should be painted. Let's put it that way. Not fix, just make it the right color. Or the color that matches the rest of this. I couldn't tell at first. I was looking at it like, is that a stone basin on it or no? Okay. Discovered I have. Okay. There we go. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go back and fix those now that I know. It's always the worst. I always end up like painting through something for a long while and then realize, oh crap, that's wrong. Or oh no, I did that up the wrong way. Oops. Daisies. There we go. There that is. Yeah, but now I noticed it and now I want to make it look like a thing. Problem is now that I noticed it, now I want to change it. Like, that's my issue. It's like now that I know, problem is now I know. I had a similar thing with the mini I painted yesterday. I put a green wash on it. I wasn't 100% sure how that green wash would go. You happy little snowdrift. For sure. Let's see. I think it was because I saw this one, it was kind of broken. That was probably why I thought it was more snowdrift and not like an actual stone structure. Just getting fine. Like this one was probably the one I saw first, and it made me just go, no, it's not a foot. That's a snow. No, that's a foot. I see it readily across most of this, so oh, never mind. Never mind. Okay. That's sitting kind of dry a bit. But before I go back on it. Alrighty. Thanks for stopping by, Tyler, hanging out, yo. Being all cool and chillaxing with us. Sweet. Paint a tower. I'm like, I also don't know if there's something I can paint quickly either that I have sitting over there. There might be something. I don't know. Okay, let's see. So, how does this thing look stacked together now? Is the question. Oh yeah, there are tabs on this thing. I was like, where the heck are the tabs? There we go. I mean, we got a nice little tower at the end of it, I think. Tower. I struck tower, Carrie. I got batteries. I got you. Yeah, no. I think we did pretty good for some of this today. Now, I do want to change this now. Let's put some other color in the middle of that. This thing needs a little more color in it because it is, I don't know, the dimensions aren't right to me. Darker than lighter. So beige. Beige first, maybe? Or the khaki? No. Got this tip brush here. Let's try khaki. Let's see what we get. Okay. I just totally stuck that in the wrong one. Go me. I went to the lighter color, not the one I wanted. To the khaki. Brush is a bit wet now. Let's go. Hope I can clean this up a little bit, but yeah, that gives us a little bit of dimension, doesn't it? Let's do that. Brings those out. Yeah, let's do that. All right, we'll do this the whole way around. It will take a while, but that's part of the plan. It was either I painted the wood parts by themselves, or I painted the insides by themselves. So I screwed up on one background. It's fine. It also gives me a chance to kind of put some extra lines in a couple places, you know? Just to give some other dimension to it. Gives us kind of just a little bit more punch to it. Not much, just a little more punch. Nice part of us only using like a couple colors. I can go back in and I can clean up the thing and do the rebrushing of areas, which helps out dramatically when I've done something like this. I think that does give us a certain bit of dimension better. We're gonna have to wash this to really get this wood grain stuff to come out, I think. Yeah. I have my wash over there. I'll go and grab it in just a second. After I, meticulously go through and do each of these. Great one? No, I didn't. Okay. a bit. Nearly halfway there. I feel like it's like, we're nearly there. No, you're not. Nope, you're not at all. You're not even close. Oh, thanks. Thanks, model, for telling me. Ugh. Oh man, nearly at the end. Nearly at the end. Nearly there. It's been a race. Much more khaki, just a little more. All right, last one. And I'll go through and check them. As they dry, they darken up a bit, which is good. They shouldn't be super extra vibrant, but I do. Going to be at least somewhat consistent. That sounds ideal. Okay, there's that. Now I get to go through and clean up all those areas. Dry off the brush a bit because it needs it. A lot on here, just enough. Yeah. Just let that dry a little bit more. I'm going to grab. Actually, I can probably do this next, but yeah, we're probably gonna wash that one for sure. I don't know if I need to wash the ones with the stone. The stone looks pretty good as it is. I don't think it needs a washing, but the wood does on this, I think. It just needs to be deeper. It needs to be richer. So, grab some homemade wash. Gives me a reason to check on the printer too. Goodness knows what it's doing. Other than my visually up right hand corner, which honestly, much more, and then a little down. There we go. That fixed that. That was bothering me. I just now noticed it though. Okay, yeah. So this is an ink wash that I made probably a year ago. You can tell how much of it I've used because I've got a lot of things to paint, but I haven't touched them. And I don't use it very often anymore. I've used it on a couple of things, a couple of bigger models and that, some other terrain pieces of recent. But let's see how this turns out for this. Now, it's very much a dirtying step at the end of the day for this. So dirty it, then we'll brighten it back up. All right. We're starting to get to that hole where there's darkness now. What I'm gonna do next, let's give this a little bit of a brush over here. Used up almost all what I put in there already. Jeez Louise. Kind of see how this all turns out here. Yeah. Liberal is the phrase there. Liberal amounts of that jazz goes a long way. Sometimes I water it down with like my brush wash here, or my water that I rinse the brushes with, but not all the time. Every once in a while, though. Okay, glove. You've absorbed a lot of ink today. Okay. Those should be essentially donezo, I think. That's what I might do. One, go sans glove for the final part of this. Or switch gloves. Probably just switch gloves. My hand is wet. Actually, my fingers are far enough away from stuff, I don't think I have to worry about it so much. And we used granite gray as our wash, or as our dry brush. Our dry brushing buddy. Okay. Now, just a quick hit with our dry brush friend, and it's done. Yeah, takes. I'd rather enjoy this little bit of technique of just, a few colors here and there. Nothing too exciting. You need to freshen it up. You can always hit it again. One thing or another. I mean, it just kind of works. At the end of the day, for me anyway. There we go. That's popped on there. Nice and solid. This actually looks real. I do love the look of this overall. Get those low hanging doodads there. Some more. Guys, some other little things here. Some light features that need just a hair bit more of that. It's the winter, after all. There should be a little white on there, right? A little more color. Just a little bit denser tones and things of that nature. Just kind of give it a little more on here. It doesn't need much more. Mind you, it already looks pretty good as it is. So, yeah. Now the fun part comes of just waiting for that dude to dry. Overall. Ugh, stuck. Yeah, I put a lot of liquid on it. It's going to take a second. For sure. Okay, we can re-rinse this. Now, Yeah. There we go. We're at 5 o'clock. Good gravy. Yeah. Well, I think my original thing was going to go to like 5:30 anyway. Um, but oh snap! You know what I noticed? Because I'm so able to see things. Um, there's snow inside the top of this. Back to the snow! Hold on. I was about to mentally close up shop and no, wait, hold on. We got a thing we gotta do. We gotta fix it first. We gotta do this one last thing. One last thing to do with the snows. All right. Do a little more snow. I think we're good. Um, overall, there we go. I thought I was probably missing something. There's something I could do while that other one dried before, if I could finish it maybe. I could run and grab my heat gun and dry it off faster for sure. Because a blow dryer, something like that will help with these kinds of acrylic paints and that. They'll dry. Like this thing's been drying relatively quickly because it's fairly dry down here anyway. So I haven't had to pause too much. I like having several models that I can kind of switch between while doing this. Because it makes things easier. Makes things a little bit easier to, you know, kind of like multiplexing models and whatnot, just to get more done at once. Since these are all part of the same overall stacked model, it's helpful, I guess. It's 4 models in one, more work for your buck or whatever. One last little snow ditch. That comes up and over the top even. Whoosh, fancy. Little snow pile that ends up here. I thought this was just broken stone at first. Well, that's snow. That's for sure snow. Happy little snow pile. Happy little snow pile. Okay. There we go. There we have it. We've got some nice snow on there now. Alrighty. Well, other than the sticky mess that this thing is, which now, it's a little harder to see right now. I'll take pictures of this once it actually dries and I go over the wood again with a little more brushing. What it totally looks like at the end, but hey, wicked sweet. That is wicked sweet. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, thanks for stopping by. We got printing stuff happening. Send me all the time. Right now, I'm printing the top and a part of a blacksmith shop from one of the models because it didn't print well the first time that I did it a couple years ago, I guess. So yeah, I'll be back here next Sunday at least, if not Saturday, doing some mini painting in the afternoon. So let's stop by. Hey, hang out, chit chat, talk about painting techniques or whatever. I don't know a lot of them. I only know some. So yeah. So hey, well, we'll talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful night, all right?